Hello, America. I'm Mark Levin. This is LevinTV on CRTV, Conservative Review TV. Well, you can see all hell's breaking loose. The mainstream media pretty much is trying to keep a lid on it, as are the Democrats. But the fact of the matter is we have a huge problem with the top levels of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And I say that with great trepidation. And I'll tell you why. I was Chief of Staff to an Attorney General. I knew at least 2 former directors of the FBI. We worked incredibly well with the FBI over at the Justice Department. It would never even have occurred to us to interfere with their activities for or against. It never would have occurred to us to interfere with an election. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? All this talk about Russia interfering with our election, which Russia sought to do, and not just our election, but elections all over the world, but they failed. The FBI also sought to interfere with our election. Mr. Comey did, Mr. McCabe did, the director, former, the current deputy, who will be out soon, as did their underlings, Mr. Stroke, Ms. Page, Raddick, Baker, and others whose names will go down in history infamously. We also know that Loretta Lynch did the same thing. And I want to emphasize something to you. There's no way in hell Barack Obama didn't know some of this. There's no way in hell Barack Obama didn't know that his Department of Justice and FBI had filed applications with the FISA court, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, for counterintelligence investigation. There's no way he wasn't informed about that, either directly from the FBI, the Attorney General, or in his daily presidential briefing, his intelligence briefing. There is no way that they wouldn't have told him because of the potential that it could affect the election. We have an FBI that used a dossier, in my opinion, paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC through this Fusion GPS operation, this CD operation. They go overseas. They use a former British spy who uses his contacts with the Kremlin to concoct this 35-page character assassination sheet. And what do they do with it? They work it into the FBI. Who brings it to the FBI? Well, Mr. Steele does, as does John McCain's people. What does the FBI do? They bite down hard on this hook. They were thinking about paying Mr. Steele, maybe even bringing him on staff for more information. And apparently they take that information and they run it to a federal court, a secret federal court, which didn't do its job, by the way. The judge or judges on this court who made this decision to issue this warrant against one or more members of Trump world did not do their job. And it's interesting to me that later, I believe it's sometime in April, a judge admonished the Justice Department and the FBI, but we still don't have all the particulars of what took place. We still don't have all the particulars, but it's getting very ugly. The texts, 50,000 texts, however many texts, an enormous number of texts missing over a 5-month period, including up to the day, give or take a day, where Robert Mueller was appointed special counsel. That just so happens? They think we just fell off the tuna boat? That's ridiculous. And what about these texts? A secret society of FBI agents? What's that all about? We need an insurance policy in case Trump wins? What's that all about? This is outrageous. I don't know that this has ever happened in American history or the history of the FBI. You know, the reason why an FBI director gets a 10-year term as FBI director is to ensure that he or she is not political or not influenced by politics. It's not because they're king or queen where they get to make decisions and influence an election. So I just want to make it abundantly clear. We talk about the Russians interfering with our election. Fair enough. They talk about collusion. There was no collusion with Trump and the Russians. But the FBI sought to interfere in our election. I'm not talking about the men and women who work at the FBI. I'm talking about the top echelon. They sought to interfere with our election, and they sought to interfere in our election in worse ways than the Russians did. Now, we can despise the Russians as I do. You can despise Putin as I do. I've never been a Code Pink Republican. What happened to them, by the way? Where are they? But when it happens in our own tent, in our own country, in our own Justice Department, through the FBI, that's another story. That takes it to a level way up here. And notice the Democrat Party runs interference. Notice the Democrat Party is obstructing information. The Democrat Party was furious that texts were released so the American people would know what's going on. Just as they're trying to sit on a memo that the House Intelligence Committee has put together on some of the information that you and I should know that took place at the FBI during the course of the election. And as I said 2 days ago on my radio show and yesterday on my radio show, how is it that Barack Obama is never questioned about this? His name never comes up. Never comes up. Are you telling me that the director of the National Security Council, Susan Rice, didn't know a thing? Are you telling me that the deputy director of the National Security Council, Ben Rhodes, a well-known leaker, he didn't know a thing? Are you telling me Valerie Jarrett didn't know a thing as she sits there controlling every department and every cabinet secretary? Are you telling me that James Comey, who likes to meet with presidents and takes memos, that he didn't meet with the president or write any memos? Loretta Lynch meets with Bill Clinton on the tarmac. Now we know why she met with Bill Clinton on the tarmac. She told him, or winked and nodded to him, that his wife was in the clear. That's exactly what took place. We would not even have known of that meeting if a local camera crew in Phoenix at their airport hadn't seen them. And all the effort to cover it up. Oh, we were talking about our grandchildren. Really? Nobody believes that. The Justice Department, for the longest time, wouldn't release any documents, any information related to the tarmac meeting. Well, if they're talking about their grandchildren, why would you release it all? Now, this is just part of the continuum. This is what's been taking place. But it didn't start today, and it didn't start yesterday. And it's nice to see now that we have committees of Congress who are concerned about this. It's nice to see now that we have radio hosts who are concerned about this. It's nice to see that we now have television hosts who are concerned about this. Where the hell were they in March? Mark, what are you talking about? Where were they in March? When I had information, pulled it together from the public accounts, and began to pull the string and to see that something didn't smell right, something didn't look right. And the media came down on me like a ton of bricks. I'm a tough guy, I can handle it. That's not my point. They wanted to shut it down, so they used ridicule, they used conspiracy theory arguments, they used right-wing stuff, all that stuff. And I had very little support in the conservative media, almost none. They were, oh, has he gone nutty over here? Is he done? No. So we kicked the door open. And now the door's open. And now people are looking. And they should look. And we need to get to the bottom of this. And if we don't get to the bottom of this, we're in a hell of a lot of trouble.
For more, sign up for LevinTV.